Welcome to the store. Don't forget to subscribe, and support me.
The wind howled through the dense forest as Catherine adjusted her grip on the weathered map, its tattered edges flapping violently. Her eyes scanned the rough terrain ahead. Jagged cliffs loomed in the distance, shrouded in mist, while twisted trees clawed at the darkening sky. Somewhere beyond that treacherous landscape lay the Forgotten Realm, an ancient place lost to time, filled with arcane magic and secrets that could change the world. "Catherine, are you sure this is the right way?" Ethan, the rogue, asked, his voice tight with apprehension. His sharp eyes flicked back and forth, always on the lookout for unseen danger. "Positive," she replied, her tone unwavering. She folded the map carefully, tucking it into her pack. "The entrance to the realm is close. If we push through this pass, we'll be there by nightfall." The rest of the team remained silent, each lost in their own thoughts. Larissa, the mage, gripped her staff a little tighter, her fingers brushing over the intricate runes carved into its surface. Beside her, Kale, the stoic warrior, adjusted the straps on his armor, his face unreadable beneath his battle-worn helmet. They all knew the stakes. Within the Forgotten Realm lay an artifact of unimaginable power, a relic said to be capable of reshaping the world. And while their goal was noble, they were not the only ones in pursuit. Catherine's mind flickered back to the dark wizard, Malek, a name whispered in hushed tones throughout the continent. If he found the artifact before them, the consequences would be catastrophic. Humanity had barely survived his previous conquests, and with the artifact in his hands, there would be no stopping him. The group pressed on, the terrain growing more treacherous with each passing hour. Catherine could feel the weight of the responsibility bearing down on her shoulders. She had been the one to find the map, the one to piece together the clues that led to this ancient secret, and now, she was the one who had to ensure they succeeded. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows over the landscape, they finally reached the entrance. The mouth of a cave yawned before them, framed by crumbling stone pillars etched with ancient symbols. A faint glow emanated from deep within, illuminating the first of many puzzles they would have to solve. Catherine stepped forward, studying the symbols carefully. They were unlike anything she had ever seen before, curved lines intertwined with jagged edges, forming a complex pattern that seemed to shift and twist the longer she looked at it. Her heart quickened as she realized the significance of the markings. They were designed to test those who sought entrance, to ensure only the worthy would pass. "It's a puzzle," she murmured, tracing her fingers over the symbols. "We need to figure out the correct sequence to open the door." Larissa stepped up beside her, her eyes narrowing as she examined the glowing runes. "These symbols, they're ancient, older than anything I've seen before. But there's a pattern here, a flow of magic. We just need to align the energy correctly." Working together, Catherine and Larissa manipulated the symbols, their combined intellect and magical knowledge guiding them through the complex puzzle. The others stood guard, their weapons ready, as the two women concentrated. Minutes passed, then hours, the air growing thick with tension as they worked. Finally, with a soft click, the last symbol slid into place, and the ground beneath them trembled. The entrance to the Forgotten Realm slowly opened, revealing a swirling vortex of light and shadow. Catherine took a deep breath, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. This was it. They were about to step into the unknown. "Stay close," she ordered, her voice firm. "We don't know what we'll find in there." One by one, the team entered the realm, the swirling light engulfing them as they passed through the threshold. The world on the other side was unlike anything they had imagined. Floating islands drifted lazily in a sky of swirling stars, rivers of light cascading down into bottomless chasms. Strange plants, glowing with ethereal energy, dotted the landscape, and the very air seemed to hum with ancient magic. It was both beautiful and terrifying, a place where the rules of the natural world no longer applied. This is incredible," Ethan whispered, his usual sarcasm replaced with genuine awe. "I've never seen anything like it." "Neither have I," Catherine admitted, her eyes wide as she took in the surreal landscape. But there was no time to marvel. The artifact was somewhere within this realm, and Malek wouldn't be far behind. They pressed on, navigating the floating islands and bridges of light with caution. The realm was filled with traps, remnants of its ancient creators who had designed this place to protect the artifact from those who would misuse its power. Catherine's mind worked in overdrive as they encountered each new challenge, a series of shifting platforms suspended over a void, a maze of mirrored walls that distorted reality, and a puzzle that required them to manipulate time itself. Each challenge pushed the team to their limits, forcing them to rely on one another in ways they hadn't anticipated. Kale's strength saved them more than once, his sword cutting through magical barriers that blocked their path, while Larissa's knowledge of arcane symbols allowed them to disarm traps that would have otherwise spelled their doom. Even Ethan, with his quick reflexes and sharp mind, proved invaluable, slipping through tight spaces and disarming traps with ease, but it was Catherine who guided them, her sharp intellect and unwavering determination driving them forward. She had spent years solving puzzles, decoding ancient texts, and now all that knowledge was paying off. With each new challenge, she grew more confident, more certain that they could succeed. But the realm wasn't the only danger they faced. Malek's presence loomed ever closer, a dark shadow that threatened to consume them. They encountered his forces several times, dark-robed figures wielding twisted magic that sought to turn the realm's defenses against them. Each battle left them more worn, more aware of the fragile balance between victory and defeat. The first true confrontation with Malek came as they neared the heart of the realm, where the artifact lay hidden. They had just solved a particularly difficult puzzle, a series of shifting stones that required them to manipulate gravity, when Malek appeared, his dark form materializing from the shadows. "I knew you would make it this far." Malek's voice was a low, menacing growl, his eyes gleaming with malevolent intent. "But you're too late, Catherine. The artifact will be mine." Catherine's heart pounded as she stood face to face with the dark wizard. He was taller than she remembered, his presence oppressive, like a dark cloud that suffocated the air around them. His magic crackled in the air, a tangible force that made her skin crawl. "You won't get your hands on it, Malek," she replied, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her insides. "We won't let you." Malek chuckled, a dark, humorless sound that sent chills down her spine. "You're brave, I'll give you that. But bravery alone won't save you." He raised his hand, dark magic swirling around his fingers. "This realm belongs to me now." The ground trembled as Malek unleashed his power, the very fabric of the realm bending to his will. Dark tendrils of energy snaked across the ground, wrapping around the team, pulling them into the air. Catherine struggled against the force, her heart racing as she tried to free herself, but Malek's magic was too strong. He had been inside the realm longer than they had, studying its secrets, learning how to manipulate its ancient magic. For the first time, Catherine felt a flicker of doubt. Could they really defeat him? As the tendrils tightened around her, something clicked in her mind. The realm was alive, its magic ancient but not evil. It responded to those who respected its power, those who sought to protect it, not destroy it. Catherine closed her eyes, focusing on the hum of magic in the air. She could feel the rhythm of the realm, the pulse of energy that connected everything in this forgotten world. If she could just tap into that power, with a deep breath, Catherine reached out with her mind, connecting with the magic of the realm. The tendrils of dark energy loosened their grip, and she dropped to the ground, her knees hitting the soft earth with a thud. Malek's eyes widened in surprise, but it was too late. Catherine had already figured out how to turn the realm's power against him. She whispered a soft incantation, her voice blending with the hum of magic in the air, and the ground beneath Malek began to shift. The dark wizard stumbled as the earth rose up around him, forming a cage of stone and light that trapped him in place. His magic flared, but the realm's defenses held strong, containing his power. "No!" Malek roared, his voice filled with rage as he struggled against the magical prison. "You can't do this. I am the master of this realm." Catherine stood tall, her heart pounding with adrenaline. "You were never the master," she said softly. "This realm was never meant for someone like you." With a final wave of her hand, the magical prison solidified, sealing Malek away within the heart of the realm. Catherine let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, her body trembling with exhaustion. The realm was still around them, its energy vibrating in the air, but Malek's dark presence had been subdued. For now. The rest of the team picked themselves up from the ground, bruised but alive. Ethan clutched his side, a shallow wound from one of Malek's minions seeping through his tunic, but his grin was intact. You actually did it," Ethan said between ragged breaths. "You stopped him." Catherine gave a small nod, though her mind was still racing. She hadn't really stopped him, just delayed the inevitable. Malek was sealed for now, but the realm held more dangers, and the artifact still needed to be secured. There was no room for celebration yet. "Is everyone okay?" she asked, surveying her team. Larissa wiped a streak of blood from her cheek, her eyes still sharp and focused. Cale stood tall, his face as unreadable as ever, but the weariness in his stance was clear. They had all been through hell, but they were still standing. "We're good," Cale grunted. "But we need to move. If that bastard can tap into the realm's power, who knows what else is waiting for us." Catherine couldn't agree more. With a last look at the place where Malek had been imprisoned, she turned toward the path ahead. They had to reach the heart of the realm, where the artifact was hidden, before Malek found another way to escape. Time was running out, the journey deeper into the Forgotten Realm grew more perilous with each step. The landscape itself seemed to twist and change, the once floating islands shifting like pieces of a giant puzzle, making the path forward unpredictable. Strange creatures with glowing eyes lurked in the shadows, watching their every move, though none dared to attack. Catherine suspected it was the realm itself keeping them at bay, but she knew that protection could fade at any moment. As they navigated the ever-changing terrain, Catherine's mind kept drifting back to the artifact. The closer they got, the more she could feel its pull, a soft hum in the back of her mind, like a song she couldn't quite remember. It wasn't a malevolent force, but it was powerful, dangerously so. If it fell into the wrong hands, the consequences would be catastrophic. Hours passed, or perhaps days. It was impossible to tell in this place where time seemed to flow differently. Eventually, they reached what could only be described as the realm's core. It was a massive chamber, suspended in the middle of an endless void, with beams of light crisscrossing through the air like the spokes of a wheel. At the center of it all floated the artifact that was smaller than Catherine had imagined, about the size of her hand, but it radiated a raw, uncontained energy that made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. The artifact was a sphere, its surface smooth and dark, with glowing lines of silver and gold running across it in intricate patterns. It pulsed gently, as if alive, and Catherine could feel the weight of its power even from a distance. Larissa stepped forward, her eyes wide with wonder. This is it," she whispered. "This is what we've been searching for." Catherine nodded slowly, her mind already racing with the possibilities and dangers this artifact presented. But before she could step forward to retrieve it, a familiar voice echoed through the chamber. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" Catherine's blood ran cold. Malek's voice, low and filled with malice, reverberated around them, though there was no sign of the dark wizard himself. The realm trembled slightly, as if in response to his presence. "It's not possible," Ethan muttered, his hand on his dagger. "You trapped him." Catherine's heart sank. She had trapped him, but it seemed Malek's connection to the realm ran deeper than she had anticipated. He might not be physically present, but his influence was still here, entwined with the magic of the realm. "I may be sealed," Malek's voice hissed, "but the power of this realm is boundless. It answers to me now. And soon, that artifact will as well." The chamber shuddered violently, the beams of light flickering as the ground beneath them began to crack. Catherine's mind raced, searching for a solution. They couldn't fight Malek directly, not here, not like this. But they didn't need to. "Go," she shouted to her team, her voice carrying over the growing chaos. "Get to the artifact. We have to secure it before Malek can." Kale didn't need to be told twice. With a nod, he charged toward the artifact, his sword ready. Ethan and Larissa followed, each moving with a determined urgency. Catherine stayed behind, her eyes scanning the chamber for the source of Malek's magic. She could feel it, a dark undercurrent running through the very air around them, but pinpointing its location was nearly impossible in this ever-shifting realm. As Kale reached the artifact, the ground beneath him erupted in a burst of dark energy, throwing him back. He crashed into the ground with a pained grunt, his sword clattering to the floor. Before anyone could react, tendrils of black magic shot out from the cracks in the ground, wrapping around the artifact and pulling it toward the void. "No!" Larissa shouted, raising her staff. She chanted an incantation, and a burst of bright light shot from her staff, severing the tendrils. The artifact fell back to the ground, but Malek's magic surged again, stronger this time. Catherine's mind raced as she tried to think of a way to break Malek's connection to the artifact. It was clear now that the realm itself was amplifying his power, feeding him the energy he needed to control the artifact even from his prison. If they were going to stop him, they had to sever that connection. "Larissa!" Catherine called, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We need to cut off his link to the realm. Can you do it?" Larissa's face was pale, but she nodded. "I'll try," she said, her voice strained. She raised her staff again, her eyes narrowing in concentration. Catherine watched as the mage began weaving a complex spell, her hands glowing with bright blue energy. The air around them crackled with magic as Larissa worked, but Malek wasn't going to let them succeed without a fight. The chamber shook violently, and more tendrils of dark magic shot out from the ground, aiming for Larissa. Kale, despite his injuries, leapt in front of her, his sword cutting through the tendrils before they could reach her. Ethan, quick as ever, darted forward, throwing his dagger at the source of the magic, but it wasn't enough. The dark energy was overwhelming, and Malek's presence only grew stronger with each passing moment. Catherine gritted her teeth, knowing they were running out of time. She had to do something, anything, to give Larissa the time she needed to complete the spell. Without hesitation, Catherine ran to the center of the chamber, directly in front of the artifact. She could feel the raw power emanating from it, but she forced herself to focus. Reaching out, she placed her hands on the artifact, the energy burning through her fingers like fire. The connection was immediate, overwhelming. Catherine's mind flooded with images and sensations, memories of the realm's creators, their hopes and fears, their desire to protect the world from the very kind of darkness that now threatened it. She could feel the artifact's power coursing through her, and she knew what she had to do. With every ounce of strength she had, Catherine pushed back against Malek's influence. She could feel him resisting, fighting to maintain control, but she wouldn't let him win. The realm wasn't his to command. It never had been. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The chamber fell silent, the swirling energy of the realm holding its breath as Catherine fought for control. And then, with a final surge of will, she severed Malek's connection to the realm. The dark energy dissipated in an instant, the tendrils of magic vanishing as the ground settled beneath them. The artifact, once pulsing with chaotic power, grew still in Catherine's hands, its energy now calm and contained. She let out a shaky breath, her body trembling from the effort. Malek's voice was silent, his presence gone from the realm. It was over. Catherine slowly lowered the artifact, cradling it in her hands as she turned to face her team. Cale, Ethan, and Larissa stood together, their expressions a mix of exhaustion and relief. "You did it," Larissa said softly, her voice filled with awe. Catherine nodded, though her mind was still spinning. They had won, but the cost had been high. The artifact was safe, but it could never leave this place. Its power was too great, too dangerous. "We need to seal the realm," Catherine said quietly. "The artifact can't be allowed to fall into the wrong hands. Not now, not ever." Her team nodded in agreement, and together, they worked to close the realm, using the ancient magic they had learned along the way. It was a somber process, but necessary. The world outside would never know what they had done, but that was the way it had to be. As the entrance to the realm sealed behind them, Catherine took one last look at the floating islands and rivers of light, feeling a pang of loss. This place had been a world of wonder and danger, and now it would be forgotten once more. But as they stepped back into the forest, the sun setting on the horizon, Catherine knew they had made the right choice. The artifact was safe, and so was the world. For now, that was enough.